Now, when we're talking about diaspora youth and investment, the word invest and finance sort of go hand in hand. A lot of people think, to invest, you need money. Now that can also be difficult to come by with some youngsters. And we heard earlier tonight, that, there's opportunities to invest in purchasing land in Ghana. There's so much opportunity. There's so much land here, land there, all over the place. And it's so easy to purchase and invest in land. But what is the reality? Is the investment and purchase of land, is that actually possible? Is this is a question I'm going to throw up to the panel.
I just want to touch on that. I just wanted to touch on, I actually had a phone call with Arnold the other day, and I just highlighted a point that I remember when I first started working, just doing some retail work, and I had a guy who had just moved to the UK from Ghana, and I told him that I was from Ghana and I'd like to go and live there one day. He said, "Oh, I will find you some land to buy, and you can do this and you can do that. I'll double your money and stuff." I say, obviously that's a small example, but a lot of young people and a lot of people, Ghanaians in general, we kind of get sucked into that, and we think that it's a very straightforward process of buying some land and, okay, cool, I'm rich. It doesn't really work like that. And that's not to say that using finance as a way to develop is wrong. Of course, that can help us, but that's not something that we need to specifically focus on. I think it's interesting that the high-level prosperity project didn't have a youth aspect to it, because when you were going through when you're going through the strands that you're focusing on, a lot of them, again, are top-down development. And how do we ensure, like Francesca said earlier, that generations after us will be able to handle the development that we've put in place? Because if we're specifically focusing on finance and buying land, how are the young people after us, or us ourselves, going to have the skills to actually use this stuff and continue that development? So there needs to be a focus on things that are not specifically related to finance and not just buying land.
Thank you, Carl. Mr. Addo, your response, please.
I was trying to give a brief, overview about the HLPP. If I want to go into the details, yes, SME development is looking at entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship, we are looking at how to support the startups, how to support entrepreneurs to be able to value addition and all those things. So that is where the youth can come in. Then when we talk about finance and investment, you see, there's one thing, because my background is economics and finance. So when you are saying those things, then I begin to look at it. You don't need £1 million sterling to do investment right now. No. I remember the late Konadu was interviewing Bill Gates, and he asked him, "So do you keep records of all your single pence or whatever?" I said, "Yes, Komla. I'm particular about a single dollar that leaves my pocket." You see, let me be frank with you. We are youth. There are a lot of monies that come into our system, but the way we misuse it and we misapply it. I'm having 2 ladies that I'm staying with. In Ghana, they were using mobile phones that were powerful than the phone that I was using. And they were staying with me, and I was giving them food to eat. I was buying things for the phones that they were using were expensive than the phone that I was using. I'm being frank with you. You see, sometimes we put it bluntly, cut your coat according to your size. And little drops of water will make what? Mighty ocean. Saving, most of us, we don't have saving habit. Everything that comes into our hand, from right to left, and then we squander it. But if you are able to discipline yourself, and even if you want to go to volunteerism, I was talking to Stella, some people are able to save and buy their own tickets and other things. If you are not able to save, and you are always squandering money left and right, how can you be able to get money for anything? So please, when I talk about that you will be able to buy something, I'm not talking about 100 million, or in Ghana we call it, what do you call it, the 419, or those people, he was talking about people who want to double money. What's the name they give to them? Sakawa. Thank you very much. Or people that I want to get rich overnight. That is not what I'm talking about. Whatever you are doing, you must be disciplined. Whatever you are doing, you must be frugal. Whatever you are doing, you must be able to give good account of it. So please, as a youth, I've told you, I'm so proud to be among you. And I said, I will be a future leader. The good thing is that whatever you are doing, you must be focused. The HLPP that we are talking about, I've told you, We are now going to roll out the implementation edition. I'll make sure we will use the platform to share the information so that people can buy into whatever is happening. But please, do not be worried about that. I don't have 50,000 pounds to go and do anything. The little one that you have, make sure you are able to put it into right use and it will generate something for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Addo. Francesca, can I just get your views on this?
Could you repeat the question, please?
So, in terms of investment and purchasing land in Ghana, is that possible, in your view?
In my view, I didn't have a view before I heard the conversation now, if I'm completely honest. But I think whatever the opportunities are, there needs to be more information about how you do those things, because it's easy to leave from here and everyone has a plan to say, I'm going to go and buy land in Ghana the next time I'm in Ghana. But sometimes there needs to be a how-to. So how do I go about it? How do I know if something is legitimate? How do I make sure that I'm getting the best opportunity? Where do I get that information from? Is there a place that I'm able to ask the right questions? If I'm not asking the right questions, who builds my capacity to be able to do that? Because when you're when you're going to another country, you can't go with your same mindset. I think one of the things that's important to mention, though, is that sometimes when you're first generation born here, it's not even like your family are massively rich anyway. So the reality is when you go back, you're still grinding a little bit. And so I think there needs to be more honesty and transparency to say, if you don't need the 100 million, however much you need, how much exactly do I need and what can this give me? And until that information is kind of laid out clearly and I know exactly how to go about it, it's never going to be easy, because I would just be going in and I won't know what to do. That's what I think.
Thank you for that, Francesca. It's interesting, obviously, we talked about investment and purchasing land. I mean, from my point of view, I totally agree with Francesca in terms of the information. The most time you hear it is through word of mouth. You know, your uncle will ring you up and say, oh, come and invest. There's a great opportunity here, there, and there, everywhere. You know, the last time, a couple of weeks ago, my uncle rang me up about investing in a local petrol station. And that was it. There was no word of who's behind it, who's his guarantor, has he secured any money, So I think the information thing is key. And, the question I want to pose to everyone here is, it goes back to what I was saying in the first question, is whose responsibility? How do we access this information of how to? Is it for the individuals to go out and look, or is it for more organizations or the government to proactively inform us of these opportunities? Stella.
Before I answer that question, I just wanted to talk about the issue of land, and in terms of should we be buying land, and I think that in terms of being able to do that, when I was in Kenya a few years ago, I found out that they've actually got a system where a group, like a network of friends, come together and contribute and save over a period of time to buy land. That's how they do it. And I knew quite a number of people who had actually done that. So that's one way of doing it. But also, in as much as it probably seems like, why do I want to do that? We've also got to remember that being as agrarian as our country is as well, that when you have lots of people moving from the rural areas into the cities and you have land that is just lying there, it's a great opportunity for either the chief or whoever to go in and sell it. And then they end up selling it to a Westerner or to someone who isn't that interested in the development of the country, for example. So again, it's something to think about in a sense. But also, I don't think it's just about land. There's a very interesting product at the moment called Student Funder, which is an online way of supporting someone who is studying or who wants to come over to UK to study. But I think the important thing about that is that you can target it to yourself very specifically. So, for example, if you speak with the High Commission, etc., and you understand that agriculture is priority in the country, and you decide that you want to support a student who is studying in agriculture, there's a way of doing it where you have a relationship with the person. Obviously, they get support from a number of different people, so it's not just dependent on the one sponsor, which is a good thing. But then there's a way of doing it where you can you can have your own sort of agreement in terms of how they pay you back. And it doesn't necessarily have to be financial. It could be that you're saying, I'm going to pay you, I'm going to sponsor you for 3 years to do X, Y, Z. But at the end of it, I would like you to go to stay wherever you are and work in X economy or whatever it is. But there are all sorts of different agreements like that going on. I don't quite know the details of it, but it's worth looking into. And also, again, in terms of investing, again, it's not just about land. There are also things to do with shares and bonds and all of that. And the banks, you'll find in Ghana, have always got, because the economic growth is quite good as well, there's like 8% return, basically, on some shares and bonds. And if I thought that by putting my own, investment into that, the money perhaps was going to support agriculture, was going to support farmers for loans, etc., I would do that, basically. So there are quite a number of different ways of investing and getting something, and getting, basically, being able to get something back for it.
Thank you, Stella.